Good morning, everyone. You all are welcome to this webinar, to this session organized on cybersecurity and cloud computing with Mr. Soumitro Mandal, sir. He is with us. So let me take Mr. Soumitro Mandal, sir, on highlight. Basically, he is a senior cybersecurity advisor. So without taking any more time, I am switching over to sir directly so that he can give you a detailed description about what is all cybersecurity, what is cloud computing all about. Right. So let me switch over to Sumitro Mandal sir directly. You can, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We all can hear you.
Okay. So I see around 36 participants joined. So first of all, good morning, and I hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe in these times. So um, so yes. So let's start with this introduction. So basically, as Mr. Amit has mentioned, the session is about uh, cloud security and confidentiality. So what I want to cover today is giving you a brief background about what cybersecurity is, what are the key principles and aspects of cybersecurity, because I know that this session also relates to you all understanding what career opportunities we have in cybersecurity and how different roles are there in cybersecurity, right? But what my objective of this session is to make you understand that how everything relates back to the work which we do, how the different kind of roles are related to the concept of cybersecurity, risk management, and cloud computing. Cloud computing, of course, as you know, is an upcoming field, and everybody is more than interested to know about this. But believe me, uh, once you understand the concept clearly, whether it's cloud computing or whether any new technology, right? Information security, cyber security, data security works on same principles, right? It's just the technology changes. But if you start focusing on the conceptual principles first, right, you can go into any domain, any role, any field. And I of course will talk you through about different kind of roles we have, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen. I have made a small presentation which will be running alongside. And let me know, Amit, is it visible on the screen? Amit, can you see me? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before we start, we have actually blocked a time after the session of 15-20 minutes to go over the questions which you all have, and you will have the questions, right? So currently we have muted so that we can first finish off the presentation. We first look at what we want to cover today, and then I am more than welcome to answer your questions today. Okay. So the session was cybersecurity and cloud computing. I intentionally put the word risk here, and you will, through the course of this presentation, you will understand why the word risk is so important in cybersecurity, right? To start with, first, let me give you my introduction. I thank you, Mr. Amit, to just give a brief overview about myself. But I am, my name is Soumitro Mandal. I'm working for more than 15 years now in information security, cybersecurity. I started my career with security operations, working with organizations like HCL. So I've worked in different roles in my career. As an engineer, I started with a security engineer in network security. I also worked as a consultant uh, in various organizations, and now I'm working as a senior manager in an organization called Publicis Group. You may not have heard much about this organization, but I think you have heard about Sapient. So Sapient is acquired by this organization, so it's a big organization. So Sapient, so I work in Gurgaon. So over the course of my journey, I have acquired different certifications. Of course, I did my MBA in IT while starting this journey. And then there are different certifications. Some of them you may are aware about, some of them not. CISSP is one of the top certification in cybersecurity. CISM, CISA, which is more into information security audits. CPI-SI is more related to payment security implementation, and ISO 27001. Again, I'm sure some of you may be aware about it, but it is a certification which deals with getting organizations certified for ISO 27001, which is a security standard. As I've said, I've worked with multiple organizations like HCL, Fiserv, Styria, then currently working with Publicis Group. So, but one thing which I always believe in, that you have to be a forever a learner, right? You cannot say that the certification I've done and then I know everything. As I've said, that now the cloud computing is coming, different technology like machine learning, blockchain, everything is coming, right? So you cannot say that you have learned everything and then you are ready to go. You have to be a continuous learner. And then when you get to a stage like I am in my career, you start sharing those knowledge with others. So what is cyber? I'm sure you all have a different concept in your mind about cyber, but I think the first thing which comes in our mind is cyber is sort of a network of computers. Some think it is an internet. Something some people think that it is a connected machine. Some people have a notion that it's a server sitting in data center, right? But the word cyber is very vast, right? It is encompassing of many things, like it's a system which processes electronic data. That's the basic definition of cyber. Uh, there are different applications which can run simple and complex instructions. A very simple application like in your desktops, in your laptops, which run some calculation, and a complex application like ERP or SAP, right, which does your enterprise resource planning, your customer relationship management. So you must have heard about SAP ERP or Oracle ERP. So it can be as complex as possible. Device facilitating the digital communication, even a simple wireless router at your home is part of the cyber, right? Then if you go to big organization, they have installed multiple routers, multiple switches, firewalls. And in the end, it's the interconnection of all these things, right? Which make the word cyber, right? If a system is not functioning, if a system is not capable of processing anything, right? It cannot be said as cyber. So it is a system which is implemented to achieve something, mostly processing electronic data, storing electronic data, and transmitting electronic data. So why I'm focusing on data more, you'll get to know. But I think when you say about cyber, don't think that it is just a technology. Think about data and people as well, right? Because today the organization runs on data. So technology exists to process the data. Technology exists to store that data, right? And why people? I think this is something which must be coming to your mind. Why people? Now, if I ask any one of you, everyone has some kind of user ID, password, bank account number, UPI ID, credit card login ID, internet banking login ID, right? So all these in the realm of cyber, electronic world, people are very important because it is their identity which gets processed within the cyber world, right? So you have to understand that people has a very important role to play in cybersecurity. Yeah, so we have understood the word cybersecurity, but why it needs security, right? Cyber, we all understand. So in general, right, I work with many organizations and everywhere. So it is very important for them now, right? When I started my career and now I compared it with today after 15 years, it has really become a very, very important topic for every organization. It is discussed now in board of director meetings. For a simple user who is working from home, for him, the security may be just protecting his laptop from malwares, uh, ensuring that his login ID password is not compromised. Yes, that is very important. But when you go into your career, you build a career in cybersecurity, you have to think about a broader scope. Business needs security, needs cybersecurity to protect their business and financial loss. Today, cybersecurity incident can lead to a business loss. And I tell you in the next slide. Uh, in fact, in this slide, when I come up with a figure, then prevent critical service disruption. I give a very unique example. Today, electricity power grid runs on through technology, right? Uh, if I talk about an incident way back, I think 3-4 years back, there was a virus called Stuxnet, which actually hacked the Iranian nuclear power station, and it was all done through cybersecurity attack, right? The malware was able to take control of the whole nuclear power plant. Imagine what kind of horror it can do, right? Critical services, now all of our critical services which you use today, in fact, airlines, electricity, your water, everything runs on technology. So if there is a security incident, it can disrupt, right? And imagine, right, we all are living in a disruption world today because of COVID-19. But imagine today, due to some disruption, your internet goes down, right? Your cable services goes down, right? Your electricity goes down. What you will do, right? You are already in a lockdown, right? And if these services are not available, how much panic it's going to create, right? Maintain privacy. Privacy is again an aspect which is mostly related to protecting your personal data. You will always want to protect your mobile number. Some may not. Some of the people may try to share their phone number with everyone. But I think if you look at the whole world, because this is important, because when you're going out in your career and you work with multinationals, right, they have a very stringent requirement about protecting the personal data of clients and citizens. So privacy is an important aspect. Avoid public embarrassment. You must have heard news about on the web. You heard about news about a cyber security incident. So it has a direct connection with the reputation, right? If you heard today, for example, if I ask you, right, whether you're going to do business or save your money in a bank, when you came to know that that bank is affected by a cybersecurity incident, it got compromised. I think the very next day, most of the people will take out their money and go to a next bank, right? And that's the kind of reputation damage cybersecurity incident can do. So this is a figure, you have to look at this figure. It's from IBM Ponemon study. They do a study every year. And this is the exact cost of a single data breach on an average, $3.92 million. Cost of a lost record per record, whether speaking about personal data, the cost of recovering a lost record is $150, right? Right. And this is the average. I think I'm not able to look. Yeah. So average data breach. So many records get lost in an average data breach. So multiply that with 150. So that's the magnitude of harm an organization. And this is a very, very, very accurate figure because they do a very intensive study. So that is the cost of recovering such data. So imagine how much money an organization wants to spend today, right, to hire cybersecurity professionals, right? As for example, for me, I work in an organization which has 150 cybersecurity strong team members across different domains, different areas of cybersecurity. So you can imagine how much investment the organizations are doing, right, to ensure that their organization is protected. You can go to this, you can search IBM Ponemon study and you can get all the figures. So that's the second part, right? Why we need security, but from whom we need protection. Again, a very industry source. So these are not figures which were created by me. These are industry generated source from a source called Verizon Data Breach Report 2019. Again, you can freely download this report. It will give you the complete understanding about the type of data breach which happened in the year across the world. And I've circled that special mention for 30% include social attacks, 28% of the attacks evolved from malwares, right? Social attacks are social engineering attack. One of the common social engineering attack you all are aware about is phishing, right? Phishing is something where a hacker sends you an email and he entices you to click on that link, right? Once you click on that link, it either take you to a infected website. In the background, it can download a data, download a malicious file, download a virus, and 28% include direct malware attack, right? Ransomware, WannaCry, not so, I think, not so Petea virus, right? These happened 2 years back. And ransomware is one of the virus, right? When actually get downloaded, it encrypts your whole laptop. And you have to pay a ransom, a fee to the attacker or an amount to the attacker. Then he gave you the decryption key to actually recover your data. right? But we will definitely will not fall prey to the cyber attacks. We will try to find out a way how we can protect our data and our system from these kind of cyber attacks. And you can see there are other methods as well. 52%, of course, it's hacking. Hacking is the traditional way we all are aware about how the hackers work. But I will tell you how to protect from hackers, right? What are the key controls we can put in at a high level, right? So that we can prevent the organization we work for from hacking the organization. And if you look at the right side of the slide, the 69% of the attacks were from outsiders, but a very important figure, 30% involved internal actors. We tend to ignore the fact that we always think the attack comes from outside, but then 34% of the attacks, and that's a significant number, it is coming from internal source within an organization. The people who have the knowledge about your system, who have the knowledge, who are part of an organization, those are also involved. Because, and that is very, very serious, because they are inside the organization and they are well aware where the data is, where the system is, what all kind of applications are running. Because I tell you, the very first step of hacking is, and I'm not teaching you hacking, of course, that's a different course, ethical hacking. But the very first step of hacking is reconnaissance, right? It is about getting to know about your target. It is not like in films, right? Somebody type in some commands and then it's done, right? No, it is more about first understanding your target. So what kind of information they want? They want information about what is the system, what kind of application it is running, whether it's running Java application, .NET application, right? Whether it's running a SQL database or Oracle database, what is the IP address of this machine, right? What kind of devices are in place. And of course, a very smart hacker will also try to understand what kind of protection mechanism are in place, right? A thief cannot go directly to in a house to thief. He will first cleverly make a round around the house to see where is the CCTV camera, what kind of security guards are being positioned in the house, where is the locks, whether there is a glass window where he can break in, whether there is some kind of vulnerability. So it is all part of cyber security, and we'll come to that, right? What is the method? So how do we protect and secure, right? So we have understand what is cyber, why it needs protection, from whom it needs protection. But the main question for all of us, right, when we work in cybersecurity is how we protect and secure. And that's what we are hired for, right? So before moving on, I think you have to first understand the difference between different definitions, right? We are all familiar with the word cybersecurity, but there are other words too, like information security and data security. There is a subtle difference between these terms. Cybersecurity is only about protecting electronic information and protect associated electronic data and systems and information. Information security is about protecting any information, right? Information can also be in a hard copy file. For example, some of the organizations still use hard copy and printouts to process, like in banks. So protecting that information is also information security, right? So what is the measure we can take? We can put them in a log file and cabinet. We can put them in a fire safe store. We always put such data in our almirah, in a locker, right? Because we know, like property papers, right? Bank account details, we always keep them safe. So that is also information security. And data security is sort of, it's more focused about the data at rest when it is stored in the system or when it is stored in your laptops. Data in motion, when you are transmitting the data from one computer to another, right, through FTP, through SFTP, or through the web. That is data security. And while it is processing, right, when the data is being processed on a system, right, when you enter your NEFT transfer details, when you're trying to transfer the fund, right, there is some kind of processing going on. So at that moment, the data security is also important, so that your funds remain secure. And that's why banks have so many good mechanisms to ensure that unless until the transaction happens, it is not complete, right? So fund will not be debited from your account, or if in case it get debited, you get an alert, right? Or it is wrongly debited, the amount get credited back to your account. So these are all the type of controls the bank has put in. Imagine if these controls were not there. People do transaction, they will lose all their money, they will not know where the data goes, right? Where the money goes, and then there will be no tracking, right? So the first step of becoming a cybersecurity professional is to understand the security objectives, right? We always think that cybersecurity starts with learning any technology, CCNA, CCSA, or learning a secure coding development, or learning cloud computing, right? But unless you understand the security object and concepts, it will never be clear. Because once you understand this clearly, it will be very easy for you to apply these in any profession you choose, right? Whether you choose to become a secure coder, to become a secure developer, whether you choose to become a GRC or an information security manager like me, whether you choose to become a network security professional, whether you choose to become a forensics or incident management professional. That is again a domain in cybersecurity. The people who are very much familiar with how to deal with security incident and how to do forensics, right? So there are multiple domains, and we will definitely look at them as we move through the session. So it's a very simple concept. Security, the objective of security is to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data or the information system, right? Confidentiality is, you all are familiar with, it is about protecting the information from unauthorized access or disclosure. So that's the first objective. There's an example, right? If criminal steals your customer username or password or credit card information, it has breached the confidentiality of the data, right? So that's the first objective, protecting the information from unauthorized access. The second objective is the integrity. So integrity is the information or the data will always remain accurate, right, all the time. If the information is not accurate, it is of no use. For example, if I change your Aadhaar detail, if I change your credit card number, will it be of any value? No, right? So if somebody go ahead and change my Aadhaar details, right, I don't want that to happen, right? Because people will go, because that Aadhaar detail is very important to you. So you have to ensure that government, whoever is having your Aadhaar card details, people should not be able to modify the data without your approval, right? So any unapproved changes to payroll information like Aadhaar details should not happen. And that's what the purpose of integrity is. The information or the data which is in your organization should be protected from unauthorized changes, right? There should always be a process, right? If I talk about application, I think many of you may be familiar with more about application security. We do input validation, we do output validation, right? You always have to ensure the data which is going to the application is accurate, and the output which is coming out is also accurate. So you build that logic into the application. And the third concept is availability. Sometimes people don't associate availability with information security, but yes, it is important. As I've given you the case of electricity, if your system goes down due to cybersecurity attack, it is actually disrupting the availability of the system. So preventive disruption on how the information is accessed, right? So you have to ensure the information when you need it is available. So imagine if you want to, I've given an example, Flipkart or Netflix, everyone is very familiar about this. So that's a kind of technology you are using, and information is coming in the video format. What happens if the cyber attack bring down the Flipkart or the Netflix website, right? You're not able to access the information at the time when you need it, right? It may come up again, right, after 3-4 hours, but it will cause some concern, right? Imagine you have to order something urgent for your parents from Flipkart, and you are not able to access the website, and in this lockdown you are also not able to go out to buy that thing. It will cause issues, it will cause concern, right? So information security for Flipkart is to protect the availability of their website all the time. For that, they will implement different mechanism to protect, so that Flipkart website doesn't go down. So don't get afraid by this diagram. We are not going to actually work on this diagram, or I'll tell you to answer me on this diagram, right? This is a modern cyber environment, and you have to now accept the fact that modern cyber environment or technology environment is becoming complex, right? It is not about a server and a user like you used to draw in our computer classes. A user is there and he's connected to the server. This is actually the architecture as close as possible I'm able to create in front of you, right? And if you look at this diagram closely, right? I think everyone is mute, so I think you will all will be more familiar with this if you will look at the diagram. There is a corporate client at the left-hand corner. There is an individual customer, and they are trying to access the airlines and hotels and car rentals, right? So this is exactly what we do every day through Make My Trip, through airlines website, through Uber or Ola. You as an individual customers is booking those services, right? But imagine what goes in between, right? When you work with an organization, right, as a cybersecurity professional, you have to take care of the individual customer. You have to take care about the booking aspect as well. But what about the systems in between? There is a firewall involved. There is a CRM system involved. There is application server involved, database involved, legacy system. B2B is business to business. B2C is business to consumer, right? There is a website involved, web server. And again, there is a firewall involved. There is an internet involved. So as a cybersecurity professional, your responsibility is to protect all the systems from unauthorized access, confidentiality, unauthorized changes, integrity, and ensuring that these systems are available all the time, ensuring availability, right? So that my individual customer or corporate clients, if they want to use these booking services, they should be able to do it at any time, right? Today is not the world like हम 9 से 5 काम करेंगे, right? That is not कि मैं 9 से 5 बुकिंग करूंगा और उसके बाद नहीं करूंगा. Electronic or cyber environment doesn't work like that. Did Flipkart or Amazon आपको ये कहते हैं कि you can only book from 9 to 5, right? People on the video can say no or yes, right? I can see Vinay Prakash Singh. I can see Real Me C1, right? So yes, you got the concept that today is the world of 24/7. These services have to keep on running all the time, right? So this is kind of environment you will get when you get into an organization, right? And they will tell you, they will give you the list of all the servers they have in place, all the CRM servers in place, all the database in place, all the application servers in place, all the website in place. And they will tell you to protect these. Of course, you don't have to do all alone. There will be a team and you will be given specific roles and responsibilities within our organization. But as a person, you have to understand that this is what you're going to get, and even sometimes more complex. And when we get to the modern technology like cloud computing, imagine this, all this environment which used to be within the data center of an organization will go to the cloud environment like AWS or Azure, right? So what are the critical cyber components? To make things simpler for you, in what you have seen in the diagram, these are the critical cyber components. The first is data. Do not forget as a cybersecurity professional that the most important thing is protection of data. The data can come in many forms. Personal data. Some of the example I've given in brackets: customer name, contact, social security number. Now, social security number, many of us may not be familiar with, but in US and Europe, everything is through social security number. Like we are currently in the process of building that social security through Aadhaar, but in US, every transaction you do is through a common number which is given to you as a citizen, which is social security number, and it is linked with everything, just like we are linking Aadhaar with everything. So that information is very important, very sensitive to an individual. Financial data you all are aware about, and other sensitive data. So think of it, when you work in an organization like Sapient or HCL, they are also building business plans, their product designs. They do hotel reservations, right? A company may be doing flight and cab reservations. So all these are sensitive data, right? Because it's relate. And imagine this data comes out, right? if I get, as a hacker, I get to know, or as a criminal, right, somebody gets to know that the person has booked a cab on Ola and he's going from Gurgaon to Noida at this particular point, and he's currently at this location, right? That's the information criminal wants, right? So you want to protect the data. Uber and Ola wants to ensure that apart from the customer who's sitting in the cab or the cab driver or Ola, nobody else is aware about this information. And that is important, right? A lady taking a cab in the night, it will be very worrisome for anyone, right? If a criminal gets to know about such data, right? Let a lady is going from, let's say, Gurgaon to JanakPuri, right? At 11 o'clock, right? In the night, right? If a criminal gets the information, this is very, very critical. So sensitive data, protecting sensitive data is very important. Then, of course, the applications, application can come in form of web or mobile. Uh, as I've said, ERP, CRM, it can be in terms of sales and accounting softwares, and of course, clouds application. Infrastructure is something we call in our corporate term infrastructure, which are like servers, database, networks, firewall, or your user accounts, identities, right? Amit, how much time we have? Can you quick time check?
Sir, it's 11:30 now, and we can stretch it till 12 or 12:30.
Yeah. So I'm just
You are
taking
comfortable
a
with.
quick time check. Yeah. So infrastructure is something. This is the word which you're going to hear lots and lots when you start your job. Infrastructure, IT infrastructure, right? So anything apart from application like servers, it can be physical server in your data center. It can be a virtual server through virtualization, database, SQL, Oracle database, networks like firewall, WAN, LAN, internet. So many people may choose to become a network engineer, network security engineer, right? Everybody doesn't want to be an application developer, right? So for them, infrastructure components are very important. Some people wants to get into cyber security operations. There you will get here to know about concepts like firewalls, URL filtering, IDS, IPS, right? So I started with my career with security operations, and I worked in HCL in Security Operations Center. So I used to do firewall changes. I used to do monitoring, log monitoring, right? URL filtering. The third is platform. People who are mostly into development, they must be aware about it. .NET platform, Java platform. And when you go to the new technologies which are coming nowadays, the terms like containers, microservice are also getting more and more familiar. So there's a lot of information available on the net that how containers, the use of application containers and application microservices have actually changed the very concept of how applications are built and deployed. So this is a very, very interesting concept, and I urge everyone you to go and search about containers and microservices, right? Gone are the days when everybody has to develop application from scratch. The container microservice actually allow you to build application through the use of components, joining all the components together, and then whatever you want to build the application for can be built, and it takes a whole less amount of time to build that application. And mobile app platform. So of course, the mobile app very, very popular, right? It's not the case about website and normal applications. Now everything is developed in a mobile app, right? So mobile app platform are very important, and it is again part of the cyber component. And of course, as I've said, users. The users can be inside corporate customers, business partners, even your suppliers, right? People with you whom work with. A big organization works with many suppliers. So they don't do everything on their own, right? So they engage multiple suppliers. For example, there is a supplier to provide them services like security testing. They provide services like cab booking. They provide services like tax calculation. So big organization actually engage third-party vendors to provide those services, right? And when you get into security, in fact, there are good positions and there are good roles now to manage supplier security. So what happens in supplier security is, when you are dealing with suppliers or third party within an organization, you end up exchanging a lot of data with them, right, on a day-to-day basis. So supplier security professional is actually responsible for working with the suppliers, doing an audit, security audit and assessments to ensure that their security measures is of course similar to what the organization expect. So हमने अपने घर की security तो संभाल ली, right? But what about the other security with whom we are connecting, right? What happens if the supplier system is getting infected by a virus, and because you are connected with the supplier, his the virus which is infecting their network may end up inside our network, right? So it is very important to ensure that the security of the third party is also similar or also at a very good level and not just our own security. I would request everyone to understand the concept of security risk as much as possible, right? Before you start any career, before you start any study around cybersecurity or start any course with secure solution, security risk is the fundamental concept of information security or cybersecurity. If you don't understand security risk, you will never understand what you have to do with cybersecurity. And that's why in the very beginning, in the topic of my presentation, I deliberately put the word risk. You can only do security only when you know about the risk associated. If you don't know about the risk, what you're going to secure, from whom you're going to secure, right? So risk is, by definition, is a probability of something happening that can cause loss or negative impact, right? So it has multiple factors, and I try to give a mathematical formula, but it is not a formula, it is just a representation. It consists of asset value, it consists of threats and vulnerabilities, right? So think of asset. We looked at different components, right? In the cyber component is the previous slide. So the asset is, for example, we pick up an asset called database. So asset, it has a value. So in the risk assessment, the first step is giving a value, understand what is the asset is, the database, and what are the threats and vulnerabilities. So the threat is, if someone get unauthorized access to my database. So what is the vulnerability? So threat exploit a vulnerability. So vulnerability is if the password on my database is not very strong, right? If I put a weak password, then a attacker or a hacker can actually get hold of the password, can sniff a password or can guess a password and get access to my database. Of course, that thing is the probability. It hasn't happened yet, right? So that is the risk to my database, right? Then there are two other concepts called likelihood and impact, right? What will happen if the attacker gain access to my database? What are the chances of that happening? Is it very rare or is it very frequent, right? Some attacks are very frequent, like virus attacks. Some attacks are very rare, right? Like ransomware. It came once in after many 2 years or 3 years, right? If you look at coronavirus, right? It's, if you look at the risk at the broader perspective, this pandemic actually come from after many years, right? So likelihood is low, but it doesn't mean the impact is low, right? Look at the amount of impact the coronavirus has. Although the likelihood is once in 50 years, but the impact is so much, right? So there was always a risk assessment which was done. In this case, I don't know if it was done properly or not, but nobody saw it coming, the coronavirus. And so if they have done a good risk assessment, they would have been well prepared for this pandemic, right? But I think it was more of an afterthought. Once the pandemic hit everywhere, then the government and now every organization. Imagine if you are aware about this security risk well before it happened, then we would have start taking measures like social distancing, mask, everything, right? So that's how exactly it replicates into security risk. If we are aware about what going to happen to my security or my system or data, right, then we were able to plan better for security, right? Because if it is going to happen, it can have a major impact on my organization. And I've already told you what are the impact. If a cybersecurity incident happen, it can lead to loss of money, loss of reputation, loss of uh, con- loss of confidence from your customers, right? So these are major cybersecurity risks in general, and this is from World Economic Forum. So World Economic Forum is, as you everyone know, it's a very big organization, and it deals with the major cybersecurity. And they have highlighted, apart from natural threats or pandemic threats, they have actually highlighted. And you go to their website, you look at this report, they have told the breach of data, critical infrastructure breakdown, and cyber attacks as the top 10, one of the top 10 attacks, one of the top 10 issues around the world. So imagine if it's somewhat good for people like us, right, who are actually working in cybersecurity. Because of this, the importance of cybersecurity will increase, and the government are putting more and more focus, organization putting more and more money into cybersecurity. So security risk concept is very easy to understand, but yes, when you start working as a professional, you will see that on a day-to-day basis, you have to implement these concepts on a day-to-day basis as part of your work. Right. So security risk management, I try to break down into different phases. And if you look at below, these are all different kinds of roles or all different kinds of methods we use, right, when we work in cyber risk management. So there are different phases. The first is deploy assets, deploy database, deploy server, deploy application, do asset valuation. So at this stage, you can work as a professional in security planning. You can work in security architecture design and development, right? You can work in security management like I am working in, and you can work in security engineering. Excuse me. So security engineering is something where you work with different teams to build a solution, right? Solution designer, solution architect. So that is security engineering. When you move to number 3 and 4, once you identify the assets and when you deploy the assets, the next step is threat identification and vulnerability assessment. So you can work as a security auditor. In this phase, we do security audit. You can do threat modeling. You can do vulnerability assessment and control gap assessment. Vulnerability assessment can also be done in different ways, like application vulnerability assessment or network vulnerability assessment. You can pick up a course like Certified Ethical Hacker to become a certified vulnerability assessment professional, right? So you can basically do vulnerability assessment through the use of various tools, various methodologies. And threat modeling is something people who are in application development are very much familiar with, right? So you move to the next step, which is risk analysis, risk evaluation, right? So do you become a risk assessment professional, or you become an application and network pen testing professional. Now there is a difference between vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. That vulnerability assessment is finding about vulnerability in your server, in your application, in a database. Penetration testing is basically about actually trying to exploit that vulnerability as would an attacker will do. But in an organization, you cannot do hacking yourself. You have to become a certified ethical hacker, or you have to pick up a certified course. You have to have that credentials. So basically, you are working for an organization as a hacker, right? So that you are able to find out the issues within their environment much before the hacker does, right? So application and network penetration testing is one of the field, and this is a very high paying field. I think I worked with many application and network penetration testing professional, and uh, this is a very, very interesting field. And there are a lot of seminar and conferences happen around the world. You must have heard about Black Hat conference, RSA conference. So network pen testing is a very niche field, and you can build around your career. And I must tell you, this is a very, very lucrative career, and you can earn, I think, I think opportunities are limitless right here, right? And then you go to the risk treatment and risk monitoring. So people who may not be very familiar or may not want to get into technical side of things can also start working as a security administration, security matrix, or security operations center. So as I've said, there are different fields. As a solution implementation, you can start working with IT to implement the security solutions, like implementing a firewall, implementing a database database hardening, or implementing a URL filtering, implementing an antivirus solution. Secure coding is, of course, the coder who are doing development, but secure coding is more about just coding. It's to ensure that application is development in a secure way. And then security matrix. Security matrix is something which is very important concept, which is mostly used in uh, information security uh, when we basically monitor what is the level of security. So security matrix is again part of security management, and I extensively work with my team to implement. We have implemented many security metrics, right, to monitor the situation of the security. It's more about like putting the monitoring controls within an organization, so that at one place you are aware, right, that what is the level of security I have. For example, one of the metrics can be how many security incident happen within our organization, and how many incidents were actually get resolved within 24 hours, right? So that is a security matrix, right? How many applications which I build failed the security testing, right? How many vulnerabilities were identified? So that is one of the security metrics, right? Security operations, I would say, is more about logging and monitoring, understanding that basically whatever events are coming within your organization, there are different kind of solution, log management solution, log monitoring solution, and basically monitoring those. So this is more of an entry level job, but once you start building your career in security monitoring, I think you get to a level where you start implementing technologies, and then again, it's a very high paying field. I would definitely like to take questions on these slides, but at the end of this presentation, and I'm very much hopeful that you will have questions around these, and I'm more than welcome to answer them. So as we were speaking about security threats, right? So you have to, these are some of the top security threats which happens today. So these are very technical terminologies, but I think you will understand much of those, like social engineering. There is one called phishing, but there is other technology like smishing, wishing, and farming. Wishing is like somebody called you over the phone and he's trying to get the information from you. Like you must be familiar that somebody calls you and he asks that, please give me your OTP. I'm calling from the bank. So that is a kind of attack called wishing. Means compromising your security through phone, right? Or smishing is sending you an SMS with a link and tell you to, okay, this is an important message, please click on that link. And you click on that link and it takes you or download a virus on your system. Farming is basically, again, it's a very highly technical attack, right? Where basically, for example, you go to flipkart.com or you go to your website gmail.com. Imagine an attacker in the background and actually did some changes. So when you enter gmail.com, is actually automatically redirect you to a different website, which will look like Gmail, but it is not Gmail, right? So when you enter your username and password there, it get compromised, and then the attacker can use your username and password to hack your email accounts, right? And this is a very common method. Imagine you are doing banking on ICICI.com. Again, when you type in ICICI.com, it takes you to a different website and you type in your internet banking ID and password. So imagine what can happen right after that. Then there are different other security threats like ransomware, malwares, which are very common with, like virus, Trojan horse, worms. So these are very kind of malwares. Uh, Malicious insider, as I've said, it is again very important. It is very much easy to protect from outsiders, but what about insider? So for protecting an insider, there are other mechanisms, right, uh, which can be deployed, right? So that, for example, we can implement logging and event monitoring on the account. So what happens is, let's say I'm an employee of an organization and my office timing is 9 to 5. So I go there and I log in, right, on my home desktop computers. But one day an event comes that continuously for 3 days, I am logging at around 12 in the midnight on my on my office system. Will this cause any concern? Yes. We'll try to get to an investigation that why a person who is working from 9 to 5 is actually logging onto his system right at the midnight, right? So we'll try to see, and we'll try to get more and more logging and event around that, what he's trying to do. He may try to get the data outside from his organization. This is a very common incident when somebody is on notice period. Somebody is about to leave his job, right? It happens that people try to copy the data from their organization for their future use. So we have implement mechanism like DLP. DLP is a very, very good solution. So it can monitor what you are transferring to your USB, what kind of data goes out through your email. So let's say you are transferring, you are attach a file, sensitive file of your organization. So moment it goes out, the DLP raises an alert and it also stops that email, right? So DLP is a very, very good solution. Cloud-based attack. So we talk about cloud in the subsequent slides. IoT is Internet of Threat-based attack. So Internet of basically nowadays we all use different type of IoT devices like uh, our smartwatch, our Google, Alexa, right? Sira on our home, right? Imagine if these are attacked, because if these are compromised, an Alexa which is sitting in your dining room or home room, living room, can actually listen to all your conversation. And in a home, we do all kind of conversation, right? And if those get compromised, it will be very damaging, right, to any person. So I've taken few examples. First is social attacks. Social attacks involve trickery. The objective is to install malware rootkit on user computer, right? I talked about farming. So this is a very common type of attacks where the whole intention of cyber criminal is to get you click on that link so that a software get installed on your laptop. It can be a key logger. So you may not be aware, but some keylogger may be working on your laptop, and anything you type will in the background it will go to the attacker, right? So I think his job is done, right? He can track whatever you are typing on your internet banking on your home computer, right? So the most important method of attacking the social attacks, preventing the social attack, is increasing user awareness. So this is another one domain. So I'm linking to the kind of professions we have. So you can become a security awareness professional. Security awareness professional is the kind of work which I'm doing, right? I'm giving a presentation. I'm actually training people on different type of attacks. Similar things, many organizations have dedicated team for raising the awareness of their employees. And it's again a very high profile job, right? You work with different executives. Sometimes you have to even train your CEO, right? Because he may not be very much proficient in cybersecurity, right? So look, imagine, right? You are working in an organization and training the CEO about cybersecurity. So this is again a kind of profile which we have in an organization. Ransomware, I've already told you about the ransomware. So how ransomware work is, ransomware may look very threatening, but the method to prevent ransomware is very, very simple. All that you need to do is to update your antivirus all the time and ensure the security patches are installed on your company's machines. So anybody who is working as a security administrator, that is his job to do, to ensure that all the laptops, all the machines within an organization have antivirus installed and security patches installed. If that is the case, then I think machine cannot be infected by ransomware. But if it is get infected, then it encrypts the data. Hacking. Now, hacking is a very broad term, right? It involves all kind of hacking tools. I think it's not very difficult to find hacking tools, but the intention of this session is not to make you aware about hacking tools, but to understand, right, what are the tricks and tips these hackers use, so that when you work as a cybersecurity professional, you are aware about their methods. Many of the hackers use scripts, right? Many of the hackers use tools, and many of the advanced hackers use sophisticated exploits like advanced persistent threats, DDoS attack, right? So, but everything they use is ultimately exploit a weakness in your organization systems, right? In your cyber systems, right? So basically, it is about understanding their method of hacking. For example, if they're using scripts, you have to ensure that your applications are secure enough so that these scripts cannot work on your applications. Right? For example, SQL injection. I think if people are aware about SQL injection, it is running a script on your website. If it is a SQL injection flow, what it does, when you run the script, it will contact your database and pull all the data for the hacker, right? But if you are well aware about that this vulnerability, you can plug the hole, plug that vulnerability, and even the user is running a script, it will not work, right? Application threat. People who work in application development are very well aware about it. SQL injection is one of them, which I explained. Cross-site scripting, invalid redirects, cross-site request forgery. Cross-site scripting is more about where I'm logged onto a website and then try to access a site. If the website is vulnerable, I access that website and it downloads something on my systems, right? And that's why it is always been told everyone that do not visit malicious website, do not visit website which are suspicious in nature, right? People generally in try to download something freeware, free software. That's why it is also told that do not download freewares, right? Because when a lalach ke liye people will go to the website and then they download something. They will get a software, well, they'll also get a virus, right? This also something get downloaded in the background. Similarly, in organization, you have to ensure that your applications are not, whoever is working in application development are not vulnerable to these kind of attacks. So these are the very high level security controls. So now, once you've identified the risk, the next step is basically to mitigate those risks, right? To mitigate this risk to an acceptable level so that you have to implement the controls. And on your screen, there are different kinds of security measures we can implement, and you can relate to these measures to your career of choice, right? So security policies and procedures, security risk assessment audits, that exactly what I do on a day-to-day. I have a team of 10 people, I manage them, and basically they all do security assessment and audits, and we also develop security policies. A security policy is something in an organization which also defines, right, what the organization goal is in terms of security, what kind of policies they implement. If they say that people will not bring camera mobiles to their organization, that's written in the security policies, right? Then you can go to the firewall IDS, URL filtering, content filtering. You can become a security engineer or a security operations center or a security administrator. You can become an identity and access management professional through managing access and password controls. You can become an antivirus professional. Cryptography is something, encryption, right? And you can become a secure coder or testing. You can become a penetration tester and forensics. Now, forensics is something which you must have seen in TV serials or films, right? Once a computer is used to hack someone, the police get custody of that laptop. But forensics is about ensuring that that piece of evidence is properly handled, and the professional is able to extract the key evidences from that laptop so that the criminal gets caught or implicated. So it's not kind ki laptop le liya and then just submit it to the court. You have to extract the information in a way that it is acceptable in the court of law, right? So forensics have a very different, very sophisticated tools are used and very different methods are used to gather the evidences. And this is not the complete list. This is a very high level which I have taken, but there are other controls. Controls are endless. But what you implement is directly related to the risk which you have in your organization. I'm not going to implement everything, right? If my risk is not that high. अगर मेरे box में सिर्फ there are only 1,000 rupees, I'm not going to put a lock of 10,000, right? But my jewelry, the jewelry which is at home, I put it in locker, right? Bank locker, because that is very costly. The asset value is high. So you end up paying some amount to the bank to have that locker, because you know that the asset is very costly for you. Similarly, for security, the value of the asset defines what all security controls we are going to implement. We are not going to protect something which has no value or low value, right? We're going to protect which has a high value. For example, in an organization, a payroll server or a payroll database, it holds the information of salary information, bonus information of each and every employee in the organization. And if it comes out, right, it's going to create chaos, right? It's going to create a security incident. And an attacker can get to know the salary information, right? Or it will cause embarrassment, right? Nobody wants to discuss their salary within an organization. What if it is come out, right? And then it create chaos. We come to know कि manager की salary team member से कम थी, right? कुछ भी हो सकता है, right? So what will happen to the team, right? They are not going to work together. So that's the kind of controls we can also. That is also very important concept while we implement controls. So a payroll database has to be protected by multiple measures, very important and good measures. Now we have different security standards and regulations, and I just give you a brief overview, and I think I'll not get into details because this is every word which I've written is a topic in itself. It's a training and awareness in itself, a complete course in itself. So ISO 27001 is an international standard where the organization implement to ensure that their security, information security meets the international standard. So that is what is. So you must have heard about ISO 9001. Similarly, there are professionals who are responsible for implementing ISO 27001. Part of my job responsibility is also implementing ISO 27001 for my organization. So it involves doing risk assessment, security implementation. Second is PCI DSS. I think PCI DSS is a standard which is created by Visa and MasterCard, the credit card which we all use from Visa or MasterCard. This is a security standard defined by them so that the organization, the banks or the organization which are dealing in credit card information have adequate measures in place to protect the cardholder data, right? So that's the simple definition of PCI DSS. So when you can search these on any website, you get more information about it. So PCI DSS is again a very interesting field. You can build your career as a payment security professional, and you can start implementing PCI DSS for organization, especially for organizations which are dealing with credit card numbers and cardholder data. And there is SOX, HIPAA. HIPAA is protecting about health information. We have India IT Act. So people who wants to work in government jobs, right, in India, there are new jobs coming in again and again in cyber security and information security. And if you look at the website, there are jobs which are coming up in government organization. When you go to government organization, you should be well aware about India IT Act, TRAI, which is Telephone Regulatory Authority of India, RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So people who are focusing on those roles should go ahead and read about it. What is our India IT Act? What is the Section 45 says, right? Section 43 says, right? 43 says that unauthorized access to any system, right, is a criminal offense, right? You cannot access somebody else's system without his authorization. But it become a crime only when you can prove it, right? Otherwise you are not guilty. You are not guilty unless proved, right? So that's you have to learn in IT regulation, IT Act. So finally, so cybersecurity roles, these are some of the roles which I have actually listed down, uh, basically. And I will pause for a moment to you have a look at this and understand and just build your questions if you have any questions around it. Uh, I think these are all self-explanatory, what kind of roles we have, but if you still have any questions around any of the roles, I'll be happy to answer them during our Q&A session. Okay, now the final part of our session today is modern cyber technologies, and today we are going to focus on cloud computing, and I'll give you a high level overview of what cloud computing is. Right. So cloud computing, I think this is the buzzword, and everyone today wants to get into cloud security or cloud computing, some kind of cloud-based role. So cloud computing is nothing but something which you are able to access on the go. And this is a definition from NIST. It's again an industry source, industry leader in developing security technologies. And it's cloud computing is nothing but a model from where I can get unlimited or convenient access to a shared pool of computing resources. Like if you I want to build a server for my organization, instead of purchasing the hardware, installing it in my data center, installing an AC to cooling, right? Uh, I just subscribe to a cloud computing provider, cloud service provider, and get a server of my choice. And all I have to pay is uh, the usage of the server. Similar to how we use our electricity, the amount of time I use a server, that will define the amount of charges I have to pay. I can use unlimited storage. Today, if I tell you, you can use Office OneDrive, Google Drive anytime, right? And you don't even have to pay for those services. So it can give you unlimited services. Gone are the days where you are run out of space on your laptop or hard disk, right? Now you can just simply use your mobile or laptop or internet connection to store your data on the Google Drive. So this is what cloud computing has done for you, right? It has provided you unlimited resources so that you can do your job. So not just for personal users, for organization as well, this has become very convenient. They don't have to purchase lots of hardware and then deploying people to manage them. They can just reach out to cloud service provider and get all these resources. So cloud computing has basically essentially three models to start with: software as a service, where and software as a service, I give you an example: Gmail, right? Everyone use Gmail. I use Gmail as well. So what is Gmail? Gmail is nothing but a software as a service. You are able to use a software for sending emails, receiving emails, and Gmail you don't have to pay anything, right? But you are using a software where you haven't installed anything on your machine or anything on your data center. You are simply using that software. So Google is providing the services to you as a software, right? Of course, Google is giving you free because you all know that Google has some other intention behind it. Because from the Gmail, it can send you product emails, it can send you advertisements over the Gmail. So that's why it is giving you free, right? Uh, but there are other software services, right, as a service which are paid, right, provided by Amazon or provided by Microsoft, right? So think of any software we use on the internet, it is more of a software as a service, right? Platform as a service is, right, for example, you are a developer, you are an application developer, and you want to develop something on .NET. You have a very basic system at your home, right, but have an internet connection. Your system does not support that particular software to be developed on your system because you don't have the processor, may not have the application development environment. So what you will do, you will reach out to the cloud service provider and they'll give you the platform you need. And all you have to do is do a coding on your system and push that code onto the platform and run that code, right? And that's what you all do, right? Today, most of the applications are running on GoDaddy, right? You build the web application and you run that application on that platform. You don't have to install a server. You don't have to set up a server on your own to host a website. And infrastructure as a service. This is the most widely used service in organization today. As I've said, the organization today has lots of servers. Imagine thousands of servers they have to run, and they don't want to buy software because the cost of installing thousands software and they have to build a data center, cooling systems, it's very high, right? So what they will do, they reach out to the servers. And infrastructure, as I've told you in the previous slides, infrastructure is something like servers, database, right? Network devices, these all come under infrastructure. So now, not just software and platform, you can also subscribe and procure infrastructure as a service. So these are the three main model of cloud computing. And in the next slide, I have tried to showcase everything in one slide to give you a good understanding of how it works. So I break down all the infrastructure as a component or software as a service component or platform as a service component into these components, right? In these entities. And it again have the same level of concept. Data and user identity sits on the top. There are application and platforms. And the basic, most important concept in cloud computing is virtualization. Of course, the cloud service provider also use their own data center, but they use virtualization technologies to virtualize these hardware into virtual components, into compute, into storage and database and networks. At a high level, that's how I've categorized all the system components. Compute means your servers, storage and database, you're already aware, and network components like you can also set up your network in the cloud, right? So what this cloud provider do, they have their own data center across the world, right? They build all these components, virtualize them, and when an end user, which is right at the left bottom corner, like user who's accessing through the web, or APIs and CLIs. I think APIs, most of you know, maybe not, but API is an application programmable interface, which lets you use the capability of the cloud through the use of APIs, right? So for example, within your website, when you click on pay, right, or pay, that is also an API. You are not building that capability into on the application, but you are using an API. When you click on pay this amount, it takes you to the different website. So that's an API. So similarly, you can access the cloud service through APIs, through the internet, and these are some of the major cloud service provider in the world today. Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, Salesforce, OneDrive. Gmail is I've written because it's the most common use free form of services. So to build your career in cloud security, these all provider you can get to a specialization course. Like you want to become an Amazon Web Server Architect, Web Services Architect, there are courses. You want to an Amazon Service Security Solution Provider, there are courses available. And I think for those courses, you can reach out to your coordinator and ask them what kind of courses you can do on cloud security. But nowadays, from the organization standpoint, even our organization and most of the organization, they have started using Amazon Web Services a lot, right? So if you build your career in cloud security services, try to learn about any of these solutions, right? And then uh, basically once you're hired in an organization, you can start managing their cloud components and cloud services, right? Working with the Amazon guys and use those components to build your environment, right? So these are Google Cloud Platform is again coming up. Salesforce is very much in use by most of the sales organization today who are into sales business. They use Salesforce a lot. Even the organization which are not, every organization has a sales department. So they use a Salesforce because Salesforce has specialized applications. Even Adobe has its own cloud services. I haven't mentioned it here. Microsoft Azure, on the Microsoft side, they provide free trainings on Microsoft Azure. Similar like AWS also provide free trainings. But I think to get a hands-on training, you should reach out to some trainers and some training courses, right? So have a look at it for a moment, and you can also ask me questions around this. So the quick fact check, the most important fact I want to present at the end of this presentation today is this. IC Square has do a survey every year. Now this is a global workforce gap today in cybersecurity. There is a shortage of 4.7 million professionals. And if you look at Asia, 2.6 million professionals are still needed. So depending on the work requirement or today work demands we have in cybersecurity, we are still falling short by such a huge margin. And if you see in North America, there's close to 5.5 lakhs people. In Europe, around 3 lakh people. In Latin America, 6 lakh people. And in Asia, there are 2.6. There's basically that means 26 lakh people are still needed in cybersecurity. So that's the kind of opportunities we have. So Asia Pacific has a largest share of shortage of cybersecurity professional. There are two reasons of it. First of all, it's still a developing field. We don't have enough uh, opportunities and study and courses here in India. And then, of course, most of the organizations are outsourcing their work to India, right? So they will need professionals in India or Asia Pacific countries, right? So this is the moment I think you start, and this is what I like to imply through this session. I try to give you a fundamentals of cybersecurity and cloud computing, and in the meantime, I've also give you what kind of rules you can push for, so that this session give you enough clarity on not what kind of rules are there, and if you want to speak to your coordinator or training coordinator or somebody at CQS Solution, you can reach out to them and ask them, right? That what do you have this course? I want to pursue this course. Do you can offer me this course, right? So, so you can go to ISC Square website and look at yourself. And this is not a figure generated by me. This is actually an independent study of 2019, recent. Okay, Amit, I think we have, we have almost reached 1.5 hours. So I think I can take next 15 minutes for questions.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for sharing such a deep knowledge with us all. And basically, we are having one participant named as Sagar Kapoor wants to ask something. So I am unmuting Sagar Kapoor. Sagar Kapoor, you are now unmuted. You can ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sagar. Yes, please.
Sir, I have some questions, sir, related to cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Sir, when I have most of the time using the browser, we have to show on the error 44 like that.
Okay.
Oh, sir, what's the problem is this? And sir, next question is my having, sir, IP address. Sir, the IP address and URL based, we can attack on on these sites. We can hack our system or not?
Hike. So
yes,
So
sir.
I asked the first, give you the first answers. Error 44. I
Yes,
think
sir.
this is more about the DNS error, but I think I have to look at it in detail. It may be because I think this either there is some issue with the DNS problem and reaching out to the server, and that or the downloading the web page, because today the web page works in a very complex manner, and so I think I have to look at this and basically what error is coming. But I think what site you are trying to access.
So there's something when we have to use something like that, we can show the error 44 like that.
Okay.
Sir, next question I have, sir, IP address and URL, sir.
So IP address and URL. Okay. So what is happening with IP address and
Sir,
URL?
by using this, we can hack anything.
No, you cannot hack anything. But IP address and URL, as I've said, it is one of the information which a hacker need. So
Yes, sir.
when you try to, because IP address is the public IP, so you can run, and I will not recommend you to do that, because
Yes, sir.
running a scan or running a hacking tool against any IP address is an offense, right? You should only be doing. There are websites where you can go and you can, for academic purpose, you can do that. I think metasploit.org,
Yes.
backtrack.org, you can go there and take courses, but don't do scanning on a live server. But
Okay, sir.
an IP address and hostname information will definitely give you the first start. And when you scan it, it will give you some tools can give you the information around the background, that on which operating system the website is running, and which location the IP address belong to, which organization it belongs to, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So,
Sir, what is cross-site scripting?
okay, so cross-site scripting is basically, let's say you have developed a web page, right?
Yes, sir.
And you haven't put much focus on the secure coding development. You haven't developed the code very securely, and you haven't done security testing. So if a website is vulnerable to cross-site scripting, the attacker can access the website. He can compromise the website and install malicious code on the website. So whenever the users, end user who are connected to the website, it will actually gain access to the cookies. I think cookies you are rare about, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
it will actually compromise the system which you are using, right? Who are accessing my website, and and get access to the cookies, get access to their credentials, right? So, and it basically compromise their system as well. So once one system is compromised, it can lead to compromise of many other systems.
Yes, sir. Sir, it is a client-side or server-side attack?
Cross-site scripting is mostly intentional client-side attack, right? But
Client-side.
it's actually right client-side, but it's actually in the first step, it compromises your server side, which is a website.
Okay, sir. Sir, one more question that, sir, as your slide, you can ask the top security attacks in IoT-based attacks, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, can you explain me what how it's work IoT-based attack?
Okay. So IoT is again a developing field. So IoT is, so by the very design or the concept of IoT, what is IoT is? IoT is sort of a kind of sensor, right? Which actually is connected to the internet, and it, from, in fact, all of the IoTs has a purpose of sending data back to their servers, right? If you're using a CloudWatch, if you're using a Siri or Alexa, these are all IoT devices. So what they do, they capture the data about your usage, about what you do, uh, right? Because IoT is more about end user facing, and it's take the data and send it to the server. So the IoT based attacks can be when is the communication is happening from the device to its primary server. If it is not using proper encryption protocols, that attack, man in the middle attack, it can sniff the traffic. So it can actually sniff what is your personal data, which is going through your CloudWatch to the cloud server or the Apple server, and it can gain access to your data as well. So man in the middle attack is one of the attack which is very common, right? And again, in IoT devices, if you're not protected to secure credentials, again, a person can take, because since the IoT device is connected to the internet, it is again sort of on the open network. So you don't protect it through proper credentials or two-factor authentication, I can gain access to your IoT device, and then I can do whatever I want to do. Like what I've said, that I can listen to your conversation through Alexa, right? I can track your emails on a Google Apple Watch or Apple whatever smartwatch you are wearing. Okay, does that answer your question?
Okay, sir, we are having one more candidate named Arkaprabha Tripathi. So, Arkaprabha Tripathi, you can ask your query. Arkaprabha, I think you have muted yourself. Yeah.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, you are.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Sir, the session was very good. I understood all the things. But sir, I am more interested about knowing how to start. Like, is there any particular design way that like you should start by this? Any or like totally upon our choice. Like a particular way or particular paradigm to start the things. What we should do first and what next. Like any
Okay.
guidance.
So, what you are doing today nowadays? Are you in college or
Yes, I am
school?
in college. I am studying in UPS Dehradun, and I am studying BTech in computer science, which specialized in cybersecurity. We are being taught many things, but like I want to start something on my own and like follow a particular like way or a particular trend, and then go work in it. So, what is the best way to start?
Okay, so best way to start is understanding your strengths, right?
Okay.
As I've said, because these are different domains. So some people are very analytical. So today, data analytics and security analytics is one of the field, right? Machine learning, data science, right? But So understand your personal trait first, right? If you're very technical in nature or very good at coding, right, you can choose application security. But if you are very good at interpersonal skills and you are very good in communications, right, you understand the management or you're good in management concepts, right? Right. So then there are other fields as well, right? As I've said, in security management, you can choose to become a security auditor, right? And to begin with, the courses, as I've said, start with the course which gives you the basics. I think in your BTech, you're already learning about the basics.
Yes, I
But
am learning. We are learning
yeah,
a lot of things.
mhm.
And sir, the thing which you said, that identify the domain. So should we explore many things first and then choose a domain? Should it be
Yeah,
done
yeah,
like that?
because I think at your age you can do that, because of course you should give your time, 1 year time, and sort of to understand, right? And for that, you can start with a job, because it's no harm, right? As I've said, I've started my career in security operations, but then in the first 2 years, I realized that I am very good at uh, basically management, right? Or so that's why I want to get into security management, security audits, right? But if you really want to start today and just want to say, okay, this is the most high paying field or lucrative career I want to bring, then start with new technologies, latest technologies, digital technologies, right? Because today is the world of digital transformation. So you
Yes,
as a
yes.
cybersecurity professional will get to work with the organization and let them know what are the digital risks within the organization, right? So
And
for
sir, following
understanding,
any particular platform, like there are multiple platforms, Edionics is there, Coursera is there, many kind of platforms, educational platforms are there, and some have free courses, some other have like paid courses. So like registering in them, would that be beneficial, or just exploring the things and doing like several courses are available on YouTube also from very different sites also. So
yeah,
is it good to invest?
yeah, of course, good to invest. I personally have subscribed to LinkedIn Learning. That is again very good. So I don't want to personally endorse anything, because that's not the purpose of my presentation. But
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
LinkedIn, Coursera, EDX are very good websites. These are very authentic courses and as well. And then what I would also suggest, you subscribe to one of them, and then you also start identifying your area of interest and go to the industry leaders in those solutions. So for example, if you want to understand more about security auditing, there is a website called isaka.org,
Isaka.
ISACA, right?
Okay.
If you want to learn more about cybersecurity, ISC Square, SANS, SANS, SANS.org is again a good website where you can get to learn. And there are different certification. If you really want to become a technical cybersecurity professional, do CISSP, right? But I think since you are doing BTech in cybersecurity, I don't think that will be much required for you,
Hmm.
uh, right? So first thing first, uh, it will take some time after you finish the college to identify what is your strength area and what is your strong points. Focus on your strong points, and their chances are limitless. I would say one of the upcoming careers is more about digital security management, security analytics, right? Um then advanced security auditing, right? And as I've said, penetration testing and application testing.
Hmm. PCI DSS about the payment industry is also a very good
Yes,
thing. Like we
yes,
are
yes.
totally moving on to UPIs and all. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I can see in near the near future we won't be using the cash methods anymore in the
yeah,
near
yeah.
future.
Right, right.
Right. And
So
sir, I
again,
am in second year right now.
okay.
Like the second year is about to get over. I will be in third year. So is it that I'm very late? Is
No,
it
no, no,
very is it that I'm very late in getting aware of the things? Like I
no,
mean,
no, no,
my
no.
second year is almost complete. So
No, no, no. I think you are not late. I think you are at the very right position. I think you can go ahead and explore. There are nowadays. What is the good thing is that there are so many courses available for free, right? In my time, there were not many courses,
yes,
right?
yes.
So just explore. What I'll tell you that explore more digital solutions, because what will happen in coming years that all the technologies which we know today are going to get obsolete, right?
Hmm.
Like the data center technologies, right? So one of the key areas is cloud computing, right? Then machine learning, AI, analytics, right? And then blockchain is one of the technologies is far coming up, right? So you are not late. I think to start the research, you can go to different websites which I've mentioned, and also there are coordinators and CQS solution which you can go there and ask them, right?
Yeah, definitely. And sir, one more thing, it is kind of an abstract question. I don't know if it is the right way to ask, but still I would like to ask that in presence of the current situation of this COVID-19, and will that affect the job market in the coming days? Like I will be graduating in 2022. So
Mhm.
uh, after the things that which have occurred right now, will that be affecting anything after
So
2 years later?
I can tell you from my domain perspective, you will be surprised to see that in this time we have actually hired people in
Okay.
cybersecurity.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's all I can say. So in coming years, in fact, the job will be more. You have seen that graph, right? There's still a very huge shortage of cybersecurity professional. So by the
Hmm.
time you graduate, it will be having even more jobs with well. So what will happen through this COVID-19 is actually is going to benefit that. First of all, the organization will try to move from their physical presence to digital presence, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when that happens, you look in this course that if you take digital presence, the cybersecurity risks become even more, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because your presence become more digital. So
Hmm.
digital security attacks, cybersecurity attacks will become more. So organization will need people, right, to manage their digital security.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So, sir, we are done with the question and answer part.
Yeah.
So, I would like to thank you for sharing such a great knowledge with us. I hope we
Yeah.
are going to deep dive in this, and we all will going to pursue our career in this area also.
Yeah, sure. And I think this is my information. This is my email ID, and I am on LinkedIn as well on Soumitro Mandal. So you can contact, and definitely you can contact your training coordinator to know about the courses you want to do. That's why CQS Solution reached out to me, uh, and I'll definitely look forward to your feedback as well, right? From Amit, if you can take the feedback and share it with me, that will be helpful.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir.
Have a nice day and stay safe.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.